It hasn't happened in 381 years. A king walking unannounced into the House of Commons. At exactly 2:15 p.m. yesterday, the doors of Parliament opened, and King Charles III stepped inside. No guards' fanfare, no prepared statement, no permission from Downing Street. He looked directly at Prime Minister Keir Starmer and said 6 words that froze every voice in Westminster. Parliament exists because the Crown allows it. For a few seconds, the air itself seemed to stop moving. MPs stood like statues, unsure whether to bow or breathe. What happened next was part history, part earthquake, an act that rewrote how power is seen in modern Britain. To understand why Charles broke centuries of royal silence, we need to rewind 48 hours to the speech that lit the fuse. 2 days earlier, Keir Starmer stood at the same dispatch box and declared, "The monarchy must modernize or become irrelevant." It was supposed to be rhetoric. Instead, it was gasoline. Within hours, Buckingham Palace issued a 34-word statement confirming that the king would address Parliament directly, without any script cleared by the government. Westminster went into panic mode. Because in the United Kingdom's unwritten constitution, the Crown never speaks inside Parliament uninvited, and yet, the impossible was about to unfold on live television. The chamber lights dimmed as rain hammered the palace windows. When Charles entered, he didn't smile or wave. He carried a single leather folder, aged and marked with the royal seal of 1688. Walking past stunned MPs, he stopped at the dispatch box where only elected leaders ever stand. "Prime Minister," he said, voice calm but cutting, "you have questioned whether the Crown serves a purpose in modern Britain." He opened the folder. Inside were centuries of records proof of how every government since 1688 owed its legitimacy to the monarch's assent, and then came the moment that changed everything. "I am not here to threaten," Charles said. "I am here to remind this house of history, and history, Prime Minister, is not kind to those who tear down what they do not understand." The sound of the folder hitting the wood echoed like a gavel. Conservative MPs nodded. Labour backbenchers looked away. Even former critics of the monarchy sat silent. For the first time in living memory, a king had publicly rebuked a prime minister on the floor of Parliament. But what he did next broke every royal rule ever written. Tradition says the monarch speaks, then leaves. Charles stayed. At 2:34 p.m., he took a seat in the visitors' gallery and signaled the speaker to continue the debate. Every word from that point forward was delivered under the eyes of the Crown itself. Advisers had begged him not to do it. "Your Majesty, this will be seen as interference," one aide pleaded. Charles simply replied, "Perhaps some rules must bend when the nation's future is at stake." For Keir Starmer, the optics were catastrophic. Television cameras captured Starmer gripping the bench. Knuckles white, his planned defense speech dissolved into half-sentences. Within 90 minutes, the pound fell 2.3%, wiping $4.7 billion from the markets, the steepest drop since 2022. Commentators called it the day Westminster lost its balance. Social media exploded. Defend. The king trended globally with 4.8 million posts. Starmer out followed close behind, and while the monarchy soared in public approval, Starmer's leadership began to crack from within. By nightfall, the political earthquake had become a full-blown rebellion. Inside Number 10, tempers erupted. Deputy PM Angela Rayner stormed out of an emergency meeting shouting, "You've destroyed us." Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson whispered, "We look like enemies of Britain itself." By evening, senior MPs were forming WhatsApp groups titled Operation Reset. Messages leaked to the press. Tuesday, 3 p.m. We move then. Are you in? 23 MPs replied with thumbs-up emojis. At the same time, leaked cabinet documents suggested Starmer had been warned weeks earlier about the king's growing concern and ignored it. Transition. Outside Parliament, Britain itself was beginning to take side from Manchester to Leeds. Protests lit up the winter night. Thousands chanted, "God save the King." Starmer out. In Liverpool, once a Labour stronghold, 5,000 marched carrying Union Jacks. News channels broadcast pensioners shivering in their homes and veterans sleeping rough avoidance. They said of a government obsessed with politics while people froze. Public sympathy swung sharply toward the monarchy. seen as moral rather than political, and into that vacuum of trust stepped a familiar populist voice. At 6:15 p.m., Nigel Farage delivered a speech outside Parliament viewed over 4 million times in 12 hours. "Some politicians think Britain's traditions are relics," he said. "We believe they are our foundation." His words ignited a movement. Reform. UK's membership crashed its own website, adding 47,000 new supporters overnight. Polls showed Labour at 24%, Reform at 27%, a historic shift. But behind the headlines lay the question that would define the crisis. Did King Charles save British democracy, or did he cross the line that keeps it alive? For Starmer, survival now depends on hours, not weeks. His allies plot. The markets tremble, and the monarch waits silent, patient above the chaos. History, Charles had said, is not kind to those who tear down what they do not understand. In the days ahead, that line may echo through every corridor of Westminster. Because the struggle between Crown and government isn't over, it's only just begun.